नमस्ते फ्रेंड, आप सभी का एक बार फिर से वेलकम। फ्रेंड्स, एक बैंकिंग अपडेट्स के बारे में। इंडियाज बैंक्स आर लूजिंग सेविंग अकाउंट मनी टू म्यूचुअल फंड्स। बैंकिंग सेक्रेटरी, public sector banks are losing saving accounts more rapidly than private banks, with money flowing into mutual funds. Banking Secretary Vivek Joshi tells CNBC TV 18 that this is a worry and a challenge for the banking sector. The net interest margin of the government owned banks are also under pressure, Secretary adds. The current account and the saving account CASA growth is a cause for concern for the public sector banks, and the deposit growth rate is around 13%, whereas the advanced growth rate is around 16% in the public sector banks. And that has been the case for most of the years. However, if you look at the performance of PSBs, their CASA is getting affected. So that is a cause of concern not only for public sector banks but also for the banking system as a whole. I think the reason for that may be that people are moving their saving from bank to maybe mutual fund, etc. So that is the biggest challenge for the banks in the coming days or coming quarter, which I see. The banking secretary also added that the government is seeking exemptions for public sector banks under the 75% minimum public shareholding MPS norm, and the public lender will be exempted until August 25. If you look at the public sector banks, we have on one end of the spectrum SBI, which has around 56% holding by the government, and then on the other extreme we have Indian Overseas Bank, UCO Bank or Bank of India, whereby the shareholding of the government is more than 95% or so. Banks are allowed by the government from time to time to offload equity and raise money from the capital market. So that has been the thinking until now. As per SEBI guidelines, they are supposed to maintain the 75% shareholding by the government, for which we take exemption from the Department of Economic Affairs. The current exemption will stay until 2025. Joshi added the financial inclusion, NPA recovery, and cyber security remain big focus areas for the public sector banks. In public sector banks, one part is very important for the DFS, and that is the financial inclusion schemes. The Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, the Prime Minister Suraksha Bima Yojana, Jeevan Jyoti Yojana, etc. Then the two most important schemes, that Prime Minister Suraksha Bima Yojana, Jeevan Jyoti Yojana, etc. Then the two most important schemes that have been launched very recently by the government are the PM Savanidhi scheme, in which we have already covered 76 lakh of the street vendors, and then there is another new scheme called PM Vishwakarma for artisan. So those are going to be my immediate priorities in the coming months. The banking secretary further added that loan recoveries were made at 61,000 crore in financial year 24. Thank you friends. Namaskar.